History in Our Backyard, the Names of Places in Georgia podcast. We are Sharia Atal from Chattahoochee High School,
Prinsha Chanda from Chattahoochee High School,
Pawan Lee, also from Chattahoochee High School,
and Anvita Batu from Northview High School.
This is a special episode to commemorate the histories and legacies of Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter that is produced by Leadership Johns Creek and Student Leadership North. Season 1 of this podcast was funded in part by the Library of Congress Teaching with Primary Sources Eastern Region Program, coordinated by Waynesburg University and a Mercer University Office of the Provost Humanities Seed Grant. Thank you for your support.
Georgia natives Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter had an indelible impact on the history of Georgia, the nation, and the world. The Carters exemplified lifetimes of stewardship in their public and personal lives, spanning the gamut of military service, running the family farm, raising children, engaging in local and national politics, advocating for health initiatives, monitoring fair and free democratic elections, and raising awareness to the vulnerability of people living in dire circumstances in the United States and around the globe. Their influences as private citizens, President and First Lady, and careers in the post-presidency set a high standard for other former presidents and political spouses to live principled lives based on faith and commitment to helping others. Their recent passings serve as an opportune time to reflect upon how their legacies as human rights advocates shape our understandings about their legacy, especially about places that are named after them. James Earl Carter Jr. was born on October 1st, 1924 in Plains, Georgia, as the first American president to be born in a hospital. His lifelong partner and spouse, Eleanor Rosalynn Carter, née Smith, was born on August 18, 1927. Jimmy Carter's mother, Lillian, who was a registered nurse, actually helped deliver Rosalynn. Both Jimmy and Rosalynn were raised on farms and grew up with similar values and expectations to help out, especially Jimmy, who often stacked and sold produce. In 1940, disaster struck as Rosalynn's father died of leukemia. Her mother became the breadwinner, so Rosalynn took on greater responsibilities to take care of herself and her siblings. Meanwhile, in 1941, Jimmy graduated Plains High School as class valedictorian. Inspired by his uncle who served in the Navy, Jimmy joined the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. During this time, Rosalynn, equally as intelligent as her future husband, graduated as valedictorian of Plains High School's class of 1944. Before his graduation at Annapolis, Carter and Smith met for a date, which was followed by a proposal of marriage. Rosalynn rejected this first proposal, but accepted the second one in early 1946. The two officially became the Carters in July of 1946, and more good news followed. Jimmy graduated in the top 10% of his class in 1946, becoming Lieutenant Carter. After graduation, Carter was put on the research team led by Admiral Hyman Rickover that was trying to develop nuclear-powered submarines. While Jimmy was away on this mission in 1952, Rosalynn took care of their young children. In July 1953, bad news arrived. Jimmy's father died from cancer. Because of this, he left the Navy to take over the family farm and business. They had a difficult time adjusting to the instability of farming with droughts and low profit at the start. However, unlike his father who simply bought and resold peanut seeds, Jimmy began to grow the peanuts and sell them himself, generating enough profit to even expand. Rosalynn and Jimmy worked together to operate Carter's Warehouse, and Jimmy began to grow as a community leader, serving on numerous county boards. In 1962, Jimmy was elected as a Democrat to the Georgia Senate, and he ran for governor in 1966, but lost this race. He ran again in 1970 and won his second gubernatorial campaign with Rosalynn's help. On January 12, 1971, Carter became Georgia's 76th governor. During his inaugural speech, Carter made a strong stand, claiming that the time for racial discrimination is over, shocking thousands. As Georgia's First Lady, Rosalynn Carter started making her mark on Georgia's mental health care system, hosted diplomats, and used her influence to help multiple charities. While Carter served as Georgia governor, he became the Democratic Governor's Campaign Committee chairperson in 1972. In 1974, he was appointed the campaign chairman of the Democratic National Committee. Carter's rise to prominence on the national level led to his declaration of his presidential candidacy that same year. He beat Republican Gerald Ford in 1976, serving as the 39th president from January 20th, 1977 to January 20th, 1981.
His achievements are undeniable as he pioneered international relations and human rights between Israel and Egypt with the Camp David Accords, signing the SALT II treaty to reduce nuclear weapons with the Soviet Union and support energy and land conservation policies. President Carter also signed a treaty with Panama in 1978 that returns American control of the Panama Canal, which was built during Theodore Roosevelt's presidency in 1909, back to the nation of Panama in 1999. Meanwhile, Rosalynn, as the First Lady of the United States, continued to strongly advocate for better mental health care and women's rights issues, such as supporting the Equal Rights Amendment. Carter's presidency was also marked by significant challenges. For instance, in 1973, a oil embargo led by nations in the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, known as OPEC, led to the economic problems known as stagflation, where there was both inflation, where interest rates and the cost of goods rose, and recessions where unemployment was high. Americans had to wait in long lines to get gas for their cars because there was a shortage of imported oil. Carter's address to the nation about the energy crisis became known as his Carter Malaise speech because of his resolute positions that much of the nation's problems were attributed to a crisis of confidence in American institutions, governments, and values that threatened to destroy the social and political fabric of America. Although the address was a very pointed critique of consumerism, materialism, and lack of civic engagement, many Americans held positive views of the speech. However, weeks later, the Iran hostage crisis occurred where Americans were held hostage in the US Embassy in Tehran, where the Iran Shah was overthrown from power. This crisis lasted over a year, which severely hurt Carter's re-election campaigns against Republican Ronald Reagan. Military attempts to rescue the hostages failed. Carter lost the 1980 election. Once Reagan was sworn in as president in 1981, the Iran government released the hostages. The Carters returned to planes only to realize that their farms had amassed over $1 million in debt from bad weather conditions and changing management. Jimmy begins to write books, 32 in total, and sold the family business to recover their losses. Carter's books address many issues such as international relationships, such as Palestine peace, not apartheid, women's rights such as a call to action, women, religion, balance, and power, faith and social values such as faith, a journey for all, memorials of his presidency such as White House Diary, and his autobiography such as A Full Life, Reflections at 90. In 1982, Jimmy and Rosalynn founded the Carter Center in partnerships with Emory University in Atlanta, which is a non-governmental organization aiming to improve the quality of life for the less fortunate around the world. The Carters traveled the globe numerous times trying to help eradicate tropical diseases, namely guinea worms disease, increase election compliance with human rights standards, help agricultural productions, and assist with peace negotiations between nations. Rosalynn Carter also founded the Carter Center's mental health program to help fight against the stigma surrounding mental health and promoted awareness of mental health. She continued her entire life with this work, including the Rosalynn Carter Institute for Caregivers and the Vaccinate Your Family initiative. The Carters were also major supporters of nonprofit organizations and institutes that aim at education and helping people. They were deeply committed to working with Habitat for Humanity, a Georgia-based non-governmental organization, by helping to build houses for families across the United States and 70 countries well into their 90s. In 1982, Jimmy Carter was named a distinguished professor at Emory University in Atlanta. In 2002, Jimmy Carter worked in human rights advocacies by receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. While into 21st century, the two continue to work endlessly for what they believe in. Jimmy Carter taught Sunday schools at Maranatha Baptist Church in Plains until 2020, when his health began to significantly decline. On November 19, 2023, Eleanor Rosalynn Carter died with her mark still strong on the world. James Earl Carter Jr. followed after his wife on December 29, 2024, leaving one last record as the longest living president of America, 100 years and 89 days.
Outlining the biography of Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter situates their significance as public office holders and human rights advocates into context for why places are named after them in Georgia or bear strong connections to their lives and legacies in state and national history. Some of these places are very obvious, and some are much more implicit. As a result, the following places that are featured in the special episode of the History in Our Backyard podcast uncover for Georgians the long-lasting impact Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter have on diverse institutions and organizations in the state that any places that extend beyond the U.S. presidency. Although there are not any places named after Rosalynn in Georgia, the histories behind the names of places named or connected to Jimmy Carter in this podcast inherently include Rosalynn. Plains, Georgia is the site of the Jimmy Carter National Historic Park that is operated by the National Parks Service. This historic site extends throughout the small rural town that Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter grew up in that includes Jimmy Carter's boyhood home and family farm, Plains High School, and the Plain Train Depot. The National Parks Service describes Carter's home and farm as a step back in time, where the grounds were restored to look like what life was like in Plains before electricity was installed at the farm in 1938. Plains High School, which was built in 1921 and closed in 1979, now serves as the visitor center at the Jimmy Carter National Historic Park. The school was a major part of the Carters' lives as they both graduated from Plains High School. The train depot was built in 1888 and served as a major site for Carter's political campaigns. He used the depot as the site to meet supporters and hold campaign events when he ran for state senate, governor, and for president. In July 2025, Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter's graves, located in the gardens of the Jimmy Carter National Historic Park, was open to the public. According to the National Park Service, Rosalynn Carter designed the garden. Their graves, which are simple granite stones, are described as reflecting their humility and lifelong commitment to simplicity, service, and compassion. The memorial garden is adorned with many native flowers and plants native to Georgia. The graves overlook the Carters' former home and a pond that they often visited while living in Plains. The Jimmy Carter National Historic Park is open to visitors daily, except on major holidays. Information to plan a visit to the park can be found on the National Parks Service website and in the references to the podcast's show notes.
Jimmy Carter began his higher education at Georgia Institute of Technology, also known as Georgia Tech or just Tech, from 1942 to 1943, before receiving an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy Georgia Tech was founded in 1885 in Atlanta as a larger effort after the Reconstruction era to bring industry to the rural South. During his brief time at Tech, which was named Georgia School of Technology until 1948, Carter took part in the Reserve Officers Training Corps and described the coursework as unexpectedly challenging. He said, "Tech was much more difficult academically than I thought it would be. I've been to 4 universities and Tech was the most difficult." Despite transferring after just a year, Georgia Tech remained a notable stepping stone in his journey. He later received an honorary Doctor of Engineering degree from Tech in 1979. Georgia Tech's connection to Jimmy Carter endured long beyond his days as a student. In 2002, he was honored with the Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Progress and Service. And in 2017, both he and Rosalynn Carter received the Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage, celebrating their lifelong commitment to justice and service. Recently, in April 2025, Georgia Tech announced it would rename its School of Public Policy in honor of Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter, highlighting their values of public service, leadership, and contributions to Georgia and the world. Mercer University is the oldest private college in Georgia that was founded in 1833 by Baptist minister Adil Sherwood. The university was named after Jesse Mercer, a Baptist leader and the first chair of the university's Board of Trustees. According to the bylaws of Mercer University, the Board of Trustees is responsible for many tasks, such as setting educational policies, overseeing the financial operations of the university, appointing the university president, and approving personnel decisions such as tenure and promotion of college faculty. President Jimmy Carter first joined Mercer University's Board of Trustees in December 2012, becoming the only board he served on after leaving the presidency, aside from Carter Center's own board. At age 88, Carter stepped in to complete an existing trustee's term and was later elected to his own 4-year term. By 2017, in recognition of his devotion and active participation, he was elevated to the status of Life Trustee, a position he held until his passing in December 2024. In that role, Carter regularly attended meetings, providing thoughtful counsel and leadership throughout his tenure. President Carter's service on the Mercer's Board of Trustees reflected his dedication to education and public welfare. During his time as governor in the 1970s, he played an important role in the initial state funding that led to the founding of the Mercer School of Medicine in 1982. As a trustee, Carter championed the School of Medicine's mission to train primary care physicians for rural Georgia, and even spearheaded the creation of a 4-year medical campus in Columbus, Georgia. He remained deeply involved in Mercer's initiatives such as the Mercer on Mission International Service Program, and personally advocated bringing a physician to his hometown of Plains. In 2018, Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter attended the grand opening of the Mercer Medicine Clinic in Plains.
In 1976, Ray Gunnan, former county commissioner of Norcross, renamed Norcross-Tucker Road to Jimmy Carter Boulevard 2 months before the namesake himself was supposed to take office. Strikingly, this was before any of Carter's numerous achievements as president. This makes the familiar boulevard perhaps the only tribute in Georgia to be named after Carter before his presidency. Gwinnett County, 20 miles away from Atlanta, grew in ways different from its neighboring counties. While many suburban areas at the time saw their success immediately after World War II, Gwinnett County did not encounter any significant economic growth until 20 years post-World War II. Before the 1950s, Gwinnett County was known as the Lawless County, being a relatively poor area that had very sparse legal reform. However, the 50s and 60s heralded a new time for Gwinnett County. The construction of Interstate 85 brought commercial interest to Gwinnett County, irrefutably turning around the county's reputation for crime and poverty. Colloquially known as I-85, it set the economic stage upon which Jimmy Carter Boulevard thrives in today's age. As Gwinnett County set countless reforms, it began attracting people to the area. Gwinnett County's population exploded in the 1970s, bringing waves of Latino and Asian immigrants, and with them, commerce and trade to the Norcross area. These immigrants settled down, started small businesses, and brought robust economic development to the county. Much of this can be attributed to Jimmy Carter Boulevard, the road having brought in unprecedented amounts of cultural diversity and prosperity to the area. Huge tech Mongols, such as Bell Labs and Western Electric, also planted roots along Jimmy Carter Boulevard, further contributing to the bettering employment rates and quality of life. When Ray Gunn renamed the road in 1976, he may or may not have had an idea of the profound impact Jimmy Carter Boulevard would go on to have on Gwinnett County. In May of 2023, an event was held at Jimmy Carter Boulevard to commemorate Jimmy Carter's presidency. At the event, Gwinnett County Chairwoman Nicole Love Hendrickson stated, "It's fitting that we have such a vital road named after him." Jimmy Carter Boulevard's own contributions to the Gwinnett area reflects the values of the man himself upheld. It ushered in an era of affluence and growth for Gwinnett County, positively impacting the countless families that lived there. It continues to personify President Carter's enduring values and exceptional leadership to this day, continuing to promote diversity, entrepreneurship, innovation, and change. Although the boulevard may not have been named for a specific accomplishment of Carter's during or after his presidency, it is a tribute nonetheless. A tribute that signifies America's trust as it looked towards the future, believing in Jimmy Carter's larger-than-life promises that changed history.
Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter were influential Georgians whose work in protecting human dignity and rights continue to help people around the world. This special broadcast episode was created and recorded in the spirit of the Carter's missions of promoting democracies by providing teachers, students, and civilians with open access resources that can support effective social study education that is couched in standards, primary source research, and critical thinking about the meaning of place, civic engagement, and the enduring significance of history in our present-day world.
We appreciate you listening to History in Our Backyard, the Names of Places in Georgia podcast. If you'd like more information about Student Leadership North, please visit our website at www.studentleadershipnorth.com. If you are interested in the Library of Congress Teaching with Primary Sources program, visit their website at www.loc.gov/programs/teachers/about-this-program. If you would like more information about Mercer University, please check out their website at www.mercer.edu. Thank you.